Hi everyone, welcome back, and today we are going to talk about the long-awaited Flutter roadmap. So a lot of you requested that I should make a video on the roadmap of Flutter developer, and that's why I thought that it might be very useful for you guys. And so yeah, if you are interested in the idea, press the like button, subscribe to the channel if you are not the subscriber already. And yes, before we start, I definitely like to thank the sponsor of this video. This video is sponsored by App Circle. Build your apps, distribute it to testers, and upload it to app stores, all automatically with quick and easy setup. 1 month free coupon code and the link in the description. Okay, so let's move forward and let's talk about the Flutter roadmap. So how we will start, okay? So first thing which a lot of people miss when they start learning Flutter is that they directly jump to Flutter. What I feel is that the first important thing is language. Okay, language is basically, it can be anything, but for Flutter I definitely would love that if you prefer to learn Dart. If you have prior experience to anything else, let's say if you have learned about Java or C++, C sharp, then Dart will be very much familiar to. It's another object oriented programming language, right, which you might have already seen a lot of times, and a lot of things which you will find in Dart will feel pretty much similar to what you have used already. So if you want to learn, so Dart has two things again, which I'll say that you should learn basics of Dart, right, and then you should jump to advanced section of Dart, right. So this basics is first thing which you have to learn, and then you can move to advanced part of things, right. So basically why I'm saying this, because once you learn the basics, then you can start with Flutter, and then you can jump to advanced section of things. So there is a very nice if you will go to dart.dev, for example, if I go here, then you can see that we have this overview, community, try Dart, and all those kind of things. Here you can, like, if you have worked on any other language before, right, what you can do, you can go to the docs section, and you can just take like say we have something called tour, okay, language tour. So tour of the Dart language, this is what you can take to understand the basics of Dart, like how different things work. But this will be very useful, especially when you have learned already one language, right. And then once you are familiar with the basics of it, then you can jump directly to Flutter. Okay, so for Flutter, like when we talk about Flutter, we have to set up it, right. We have to do the setup and installation part, right. So setup and installation, how that works, right. So let's see setup and installation. So setup and installation have like various things. First of all, you can use Flutter app development on any of your operating system. You can use Windows, you can use Linux, you can use Mac OS, right. So whatever you want to prefer. So I'll personally say that if you can afford Mac OS, then use Mac OS. Why? Because it will give you Android plus iOS, both the benefits. It's not like on other operating system you cannot develop for iOS, but on Mac OS you can actually test it. On Linux you will be able to do the Android thing, okay, and Windows also you will be able to Android thing, right. But let's say if you want to support desktop as well, then here you will get plus Windows, right. Here you will get plus Linux, and here you will get plus Mac OS, right. So that's the benefit you will get. So once your installation part is done, then you have to choose the IDE which you are going to use. So there are two major IDEs which people generally use. One is I'll say one is VS Code, which I personally like more, and second is Android Studio or IntelliJ. Both are similar, so I'm just categorizing them into one. So it depends like what you have used in the past. So I guess most of the people will be happy with VS Code, but if you have been an Android developer, then maybe you will choose Android Studio. Or IntelliJ is like it's a full-fledged IDE, so it will give you many benefits, but VS Code also has improved a lot. Okay, now let's see, when we start with Flutter app, what you have to learn. Okay, so first thing which you have to learn is widgets. Okay, so widgets, what are widgets? So basically there are two types of widget which you have to learn: stateless and stateful, right? So stateful and stateless, these are the two widgets which you will probably like to, one second, yeah, which you'll probably like to learn. So stateless widget has a long category, like a lot of widgets are stateless, a lot of widgets are stateful. You have to learn in detail, right, what are the meaning of these things and why we should learn these, right? I mean, this is important, right? So then once you do that, then we can shift to other aspects of it. Like you can also learn about different material widgets, right? Material widgets. Sorry if my writing is very bad. It has become worse with time, where it used to be good once, but now we are working on keyboard most of the time. So material widgets, or there is something called Cupertino widgets, right? So material widgets are useful for material design, right? If you are following material design, right? And Cupertino widgets are useful if you are following human interface design, okay, which is basically for iOS, right? Or material design is basically used on Android, right? So Cupertino and material widgets are there. This is what you have to learn, right? Along with this, when you are learning Flutter, I would also suggest you to learn a little bit of Git, okay? So you can learn the basics of Git. That will always help you, right? So let's go back to Flutter here. So you are learning about material design, Cupertino widgets, and all those kind of things, right? Then what else, right? Once you learned this, right, then you have to go a little bit deep inside things, and I will suggest you to start building something, okay? So you can start building here. Once you learn the basics of material widgets, Cupertino widgets, you will start with like the widgets you will learn is basically, if we go back a little bit, then these widgets will have a section where you will learn basically text, container, right, row, column, stack, all these widgets, right, text field, right? And there can be like hero, scaffold, app bar, right? So all this, and different buttons, for example, right? So all these widgets, etc. All these widgets will help you in learning Flutter basics of these widgets. Like basically these widgets are important to create a particular UI, right? So this will help you a lot. Then you have to start building, right? So what you have to build, okay, you can start with a very simple example. Let's say you want to make a calculator, right? You want to make a tic-tac-toe game, right? You want to make a UI related app, or you want to make some clones, right? So this is how you will start, right? And then you have to jump to other part of things, right? How and what, right? So in that case, I would suggest you to go through some basic design principles, okay? So for that, you can also, like for all of these, you can watch my tutorials, or you can watch someone else tutorial, right? Or you can take a course or something. You can go to codepool.dev and you can learn from Dart, you can learn from Flutter, you can learn from widgets, you can learn from Git also. So codepool have covered you all, or even you can check this channel Codepool. And also we have clones, UI applications, tic-tac-toe, calculator, all of these things are there in our tutorials as well. Then now you will move to design principles, for which I am already making a series. This is not important, this is optional. This is definitely important, but not in this phase of your learning. But if you take it, it can be very useful for your language understanding, especially Dart I'm saying about, right? Where you will learn about oops in detail. You will learn about solid principles, which is again very important for a new programmer to understand, right? And then you will learn about design patterns, right? So this is optional, you can take it later as well. So this thing you can take later. It can be taken in the beginner level, or it can be taken in the advanced level. So that's totally your call, right? Now moving ahead, what you have to learn. So after that, I'll suggest you to learn about JSON, okay? What is JSON? What is JSON parsing, right? And how to serialize or deserialize, right? So deserialize. So all these things are important because JSON parsing is important, right? Because the most of the time you will deal with JSON when you have to exchange some data between the client and the server. And when you learn JSON, then I'll also suggest you to learn about networking, right? So networking, basically you have to use REST APIs so that you can communicate to a server, and the communication will happen in the form of JSON. Like the message transformation will happen in terms form of JSON. Some people may use WebSocket, some people may use GraphQL, but that's right now REST APIs is good to start, right? So for that you have to understand JSON and networking, and for that for JSON, there is a Dart convert library which you can directly use to serialize or deserialize. For HTTP requests, you can use the HTTP library or package which comes with, you can go to pub.dev, right? And you can pretty much get from there things. And there is another package called DO, which I personally like. So DO, HTTP, whatever you want to use, you can use, right? So once you got to know about networking, you got to know about you have learned JSON and JSON parsing and all those kind of things, right? Now you want to store your data. So how you will store it? So you have to learn something called shared preferences. Now the name can be different. Okay, shared preferences is basically like, let's say you want to store that user is logged in or not, right? So small things. So we call it shared preferences in Android. Okay, on iOS we call it user defaults, right? And on web we call it local storage, right? So these are important things. So basically you can learn about this, and then you can move to learning a little bit about databases, right? Because databases might be important thing. So you can learn about SQLite, because on Android and iOS we use SQLite, right? And you can also use something called Hive or Moor, which works kind of as a NoSQL database, or you can also use Firebase. Okay, so Firebase I'll come next. So once you have learned all these things, right, now you can jump to Firebase. Okay, so Firebase as an individual developer will help you a lot in understanding few things. So what you can do with Firebase, you can do authentication, right? Authentication can be done. You can do something like a storage kind of things, right? You can use database, which will be for using like real-time database or Firestore. I will recommend Firestore. One second, Firestore for example. Okay, and then what you can do, you can use it for push notifications, and you can use it for remote config. So there are a lot of things you can check it out, but this can be a good addition. So till now you have mostly covered the basics of things. Okay, this is not advanced yet. Okay, this is the basics of things, and once you are done with that, then you can jump to something called Dart Advanced. Okay, so Dart Advanced it is what, like you will learn a little bit more about a list, iterables, and various other things. For example, you will learn about lambdas. Okay, you will learn about the functional programming probably, right? You will learn about like how to use collections, right? You will learn about a lot of other things like async await. You will get a little bit idea before, but these might be a little bit advanced. So async await in detail, future in detail, streams in detail, right? And you will also learn about the core library features, right? Using the math library or something like that. So for that also, if you go here, we have a section here, if I'm not wrong, core libraries. Yeah, you can take a tour, and here whatever you see is mostly the advanced part of things, which may be very helpful for you. Or if something which you have missed before, you can use that as well, right? So Dart Advanced you have learned. Now coming back to Flutter, then you will probably want to learn about state management, right? So again, this is a controversial topic, state management. I would suggest you can use something called provider, right? You can use block pattern. You can use Flutter block, right? These are the like very popular one. If you like my videos or my content, you can also use Velocity X for state management now, right? So these are the recommended one. Apart from that, you can use something called Redux as well, right? So these are something which you can use, right? After state management, once you have learned state management, I'll suggest you to learn a little bit about animations, because animations can be very useful for some of our application, especially when you are working with a particular company. They might want you to have a little bit knowledge about animations. So you can learn about, kind of internal animations or external animations. I have a video on codepool.dev, so you can check for that. I have a short course for animations, so or you can watch videos on my channel as well, right? Once you have learned this, then you can learn a little bit about testing as well. So testing involves a lot of things. So 3 things basically. One is unit testing, right? Then second is widget testing, and third is integration testing, right? So I think you should start with unit testing, because most of the time you will use unit testing, right? A little less than unit testing, you will do widget testing, and integration testing is the last one, right? But all of these are important. Obviously, these help you a lot in future. So this is very important. A lot of people also prefer to learn something called TDD, which is test driven development. There is a good channel called Rezo Coder. He has made a lot of video on TDD, so you can learn that. You can also learn about architecture, so you can learn about clean architecture, right? You can also learn about MVVM, right? So all these kind of things you can learn it at this phase, okay? So once you have learned about these things, then I'll also suggest you to learn RxDart, because that will help you in understanding the reactive nature of things, right? So that can be very useful again. And you should also, in the meantime, you should know about how things work behind the scenes also. So little bit about internals of Flutter, right? A little bit, not much, but yeah, I mean, even if you don't know much, then also it's fine as of now. Then once you are done with that, then I'll suggest you to look more for plugins and find solution for your thing. So try to master packages and plugins, like what are available. Don't try to rewrite everything from scratch, but rather invest some time in learning about package and plugins, right? Then you can also learn about how to use dev tools, right, which Flutter gives you. Flutter inspector, right? I mean, dev tools has all these things. Flutter outline, right? So this can help you a lot. There is something called memory allocation and all, which you can see to find out why your app is slow. So performance kind of things, all of this you can find here. So this is also important at this phase of time, right? You should be aware about package and plugins basically you will find on pub.dev. So make sure you are visiting that and finding out things, right? So this is a very important step, guys, which I have just said. Performance, memory allocation or leaks, Flutter inspector, that how your widget tree is maintained and all, right? And then at the end, you can also learn about internals of Flutter in detail. For example, you can learn about render objects, right? About 3 trees, how that works, right? How immutability works, right? So all these things you can learn. Basically, you can understand how Flutter is made, right? And then at the end, I will suggest you to learn little bit about other languages which you are gonna use, okay? For example, learn other languages in terms of, or learn other ways. Like for example, you are dealing with Android, so you should learn Kotlin, right? It will be very useful. You're learning iOS, so you will learn Swift. And you should also learn little bit HTML and CSS and JavaScript, basically if you are working on web. So this is also very important. You will feel the importance of it in the future. And then you will probably want to learn about CI/CD, so that you can do continuous integration and deployment, which can be very useful. You can learn about Fastlane, right? CI/CD, you can use something called App Circle, who is the sponsor of our video. You can also use something called Code Magic, right? There are various options. There is Bitrise, a lot of options are available, or you can also use GitHub Actions, right? Fastlane is another option, especially I recommend it for iOS, right? Then you can also learn about Firebase app distribution, right? Especially for Android, because this can be useful in that Android, right? Then you should also learn about how to add analytics. For example, you can use Firebase Analytics, right? You can use something called segments for analytics, right? Mixpanel. So all these things can be useful for analytics of your app. You can also add Google Analytics here, right? Then testing part is important. So manual testing and other testing you can use, or you can use Firebase testing. So app testing, I would say, right? And then once you are done with all of this, then you have to deploy your product, right? Deployment. So you should learn about various things like how App Store works, right? What are and how Play Store works, especially these two giants, because both of have their guidelines. So you have to learn about those guidelines, and what are various protocols which you have to follow, right? Protocols as in like they have some privacy related things, and kind of a book which you have to follow, that once you are developing your application, what you can do, what you cannot do. So do's and don'ts are there, right? And then this is majorly what you have to learn to become a good Flutter developer, I would say. So basically, if we go through it again, so Dart basics you have to learn first, then you'll learn a little bit about Flutter widgets, right? Material Cupertino, you will learn about Git as well in the beginning, and then you will start building. You will build some clones, UI app, tic-tac-toe, calculator, simple application. Then you will learn about design principles. You can take it later as well, as I said, right? Then you'll learn about JSON parsing, serialization, deserialization, networking, REST APIs, HTTP, DO, shared preferences, databases, or Hive, NoSQL database, or Firebase you can use. And for other things also you can learn Firebase. Then you will learn about Dart Advanced, where you will, learn about async await in detail, reactive programming, or you will also learn about isolates. Basically, I missed that. So isolates also very important, right? So you'll learn about other things, future streams, code libraries, and all. State management, then provider block, Flutter block, Velocity X, Redux, whatever you want to use. Some people also use GetX. I haven't used it, but that's also an option. You can use it. Animations you should learn a little bit. Then you can move to testing. You can also learn about architectures, TDD, clean architecture, MVVM, RX Dart again, which is again part of Dart Advanced. Package and plugins in detail, so that you can use it for camera, Bluetooth, right? Bluetooth, for example, and other things as well. Then DevTools is there, which will help you in memory allocation, performance, inspector, selection of widget, animation, slow animation, and all those kind of things. Then you should learn render objects, element tree, widget tree, and render tree, and all those kind of things, how immutability works, how Flutter architecture works. And then learn other languages, Kotlin, Swift, HTML, CSS, and all. Then CI/CD, then you can learn about Firebase app distribution and Firebase analytics, on all sort of analytics. Then app testing, manual testing, or integration testing, all those things which I mentioned on the beginning. And then the deployment for you should learn App Store, Play Store, and a little bit about PWA also you can add it here. So that was mostly the roadmap video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press the like button. Subscribe to the channel. If you have any comments, let me know in the comment section. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. And let me know if you have anything. You can also join our Discord server.